Hello, good day everyone, and thank you for attending this webinar. I'm Jeremy Pitt and I'm responsible for the Micro Focus Archive and Risk Management portfolio in the UK and Ireland. And today on the webinar, I'm joined by my colleague Stephen Cohen, who's one of our senior systems engineers for our Retain Unified Archiving solution. Quick bit of housekeeping, everyone on the call has been muted, but if you have any questions, please write them in the chat box or the question box. I'll be looking at these during the session and will answer towards the end, unless they can be answered during Stephen's demonstration of Retain. So let's get into why we're running this short series of to-the-point webinars. Well, we're presently living in and working in very unusual times, and many of us, like myself, working from home or remotely. And the COVID situation has changed the way that many of us actually work and how we communicate with our colleagues, our customers, our suppliers. And of course, it's changed the way our customers and suppliers communicate with us. But actually, the change was happening before COVID as companies embrace new communication channels and use existing more dynamic channels far more in their everyday business. So think of how we feel comfortable sending business-related texts to colleagues or using WhatsApp to speed up urgent business matters. And think of how our customers have no concerns about publicizing complaints about goods or services on Twitter or Facebook. And in fact, many companies encourage the use of Twitter DMs as a channel of communication for customer issues. So what COVID has done is it's accelerated this move to multiple communication channels, often with communications taking place simultaneously. So think of a Teams or a Zoom's call with video, audio, chat channels, or those employee social media postings and reposts and retweets, all creating content which may or may not contain personal or private or special category data. So, with all this additional data that's been created, there's a very real problem occurring, and that is that all these multiple communication data streams carry the same weight when it comes to litigation and e-disclosure. And all of these multiple communication data streams carry the same weight when it comes to DSARs, or the right to be forgotten. Yet the ability to identify and retrieve such data from the mass of communications is a challenge that many companies simply can't start to manage due to a lack of any kind of unified archiving process, whereby the communication data streams can be surfaced and presented in their original fully preserved state. And given all the various data protection and litigation regulations and the many formats with which we all collaborate, it's alarming to see that most organizations, if they archive at all, are still only archiving email. So they understand the risks and the importance of archiving email messages, but remember what I said earlier. All of these multiple communication data streams carry the same weight when it comes to litigation, e-discovery, DSARs, or the right to be forgotten. And the Data Protection Act 2018 and the GDPR, together with the FCA regulations and advice regarding MiFID II, they're all very clear when it comes to the timely presentment and the preservation of data and the penalties for not adhering. And in a world where communication via social media postings is skyrocketing, organizations that don't have these communication or don't archive these communications are taking unacceptable risks and don't think that you can rely on social media providers such as Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn to archive, because they're at liberty to delete the aged data and they'd actually prefer to do so. So what we're going to be demonstrating today is how Retain Unified Archiving can allow you to capture, archive, retrieve, and importantly, govern and regulate social media content alongside other data channels, including email. and allow you to satisfy the requirements for data disclosure, privacy obligations, as well as protecting brand reputation. And there are specific areas that can benefit from having a social media governance solution in place. These include prevention against legal issues. As social media platforms are open access, it's all too easy for information to get out into the public domain. This in turn can lead to complex legal concerns, especially if there are accusations of defamation of character, libel, copyright, or privacy infringement situations. A unified archive will allow you to search for and present defensible documents if needed. And if you can identify and resolve these issues prior to posting, through social media governance, you can avoid these legal situations occurring completely. And let's talk about compliance, particularly GDPR compliance. One of the key areas that GDPR addresses is the collection, use, and storage of digital data, including any information gathered on social media platforms. Yet most companies don't have a policy for unsolicited social media promotions, suggesting that many could potentially be facing a GDPR non-compliance risk. And also consider minimizing accidental information leakage. So a throwaway comment on Twitter may seem innocuous, but could have far-reaching consequences for your business. So as an example, the inappropriate use of a popular hashtag in an unrelated marketing campaign can easily backfire on a company, causing reputational damage. So a governance solution makes sure employees and the business can avoid the potential consequences for tweeting in haste and allowing sensitive business information out into the public domain, where rivals could take advantage of a simple error of judgment by an employee. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Stephen Cohen. He's going to be doing the juicy stuff, and that is getting under the covers of Retain with social media governance, together with a full demonstration. So, Stephen, over to you.
Thank you, Jeremy, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Just to give you a quick agenda of what I'll be doing, I have about 6 slides to go through, and then we will get to the fun part, which is going to be a live demonstration of Retain and our social media governance application. So just stay tuned for that. We have about 50 minutes, so we'll try to save about 10 minutes at the end for questions. So with that, let's begin. But before we dive into the social media governance conversation, I thought a quick high-level intro of Retain is in order here. The Retain Unified Archive is a built-for-purpose, flexible, performant, and easy to set up a new system that will enable customers to comply with the regulatory requirements or satisfy internal mandates to archive, preserve, and discover a wide variety of digital messaging, as we can see on this slide here. The Unified Archive is designed to ingest more than just social media, though social might be the only component that is going to be in scope for our webinar today. Is that it is important to mention that systems like Retain are able to monitor and archive messaging from a wide variety of sources. Retain is also flexible from a deployment perspective. We offer Retain to customers as a SaaS-based hosted solution, or customers are free to easily deploy the solution on premises. So we'll move on from this intro and we'll start talking about social media governance specifically. So let's begin with a definition. What is social media governance, or as we like to call it, SMG for short? Notice I don't use the term social media archiving here because our SMG platform is more than just sending information from Facebook and other social sites to Retain for archiving. Rather, it's an entire product unto itself that offers much additional value to our customers. The SMG platform, which is a hosted service in our private cloud, provides collection and comprehensive monitoring of your public-facing social media accounts like LinkedIn, like Twitter, Salesforce, Facebook, WhatsApp, as well as unified communications platforms like SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, or Cisco. The platform not only patrols security risks like viruses, malware, phishing, but other company dictated policy violations as well. And optionally, you can even discover and inspect content on public sites for potential fake or fraudulent accounts targeting your company or executives, and proactively protect those same profiles from unauthorized changes. And I'm going to do during the demonstration, I'll provide demos of the features that you see highlighted on this slide in the next few minutes. And obviously, all of the captured content is archived for potential future use, whether it violates a policy or not. So we'll look at, during the demos, profile supervision. We'll look at how we can identify and actually send automated takedown requests of fraudulent or otherwise trolling social accounts. We'll take a look at what our social content looks like in Retain, and we'll look at our Defend module, which protects brand reputation by searching the public Twitterverse or Facebook. So we'll see that in a few minutes. But since SMG is its own platform, it has a dedicated engineering and quality assurance teams. This is important with regards to this product because of its breadth and scope, which I'll show you on the next slide here. This team has expert knowledge of dozens of private public social media platforms, which enables them to have a very deep understanding of the various APIs and architectures of those sites. And obviously, this is extremely important if the product you want to release will be stable over time, because even though the software industry is very quick to herald APIs, in reality, they are not extremely flexible and definitely hard to scale. So having an expert social media team allows our customers the benefit of up-to-the-minute updates to take advantage of new API developments, plus potential workarounds to solve certain API limitations that may occur over time. Plus, of course, our social teams work very closely with our archiving teams to provide integration between SMG and our compliance products, such as Retain and also Digital Safe. So as we see here, over a dozen different social platforms are supported in SMG, grouped on this slide by public social media platforms like Facebook's and Twitter's, mobile communication platforms like WhatsApp, enterprise and collaborative social platforms like Salesforce and Microsoft's offerings, etc. Plus specialized scanning of the quote-unquote dark web, which are sites that are not easily accessible on the public internet. And just to break this down, and if you want to take a screenshot of any slide, perhaps you might want to take a screenshot of this one. But don't worry, when it comes to archiving support, our teams have finished integrating the vast majority of channels with Digital Safe and continue to add channel support for Retain. If you see a channel here that is of interest to you, please follow up with us so we can determine which feature sets are available for that particular channel. And my last slide goes over the behind the scenes workflow of SMG at a high level here. So let's pay special attention to step number one, the left side of the slide there. So employees we see here opt into governance. It's important to make a quick distinction here. For public social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram, each user has to opt into the service. And I'll show this in more detail during the demo. As opposed to enterprise collaboration platforms such as SharePoint or Microsoft Teams, for instance, where users do not need to opt in, rather policy is enforced at the organization level. But once authorized and enabled, content from each channel is analyzed and then archived. Communication with the social channels can be two-way, meaning that SMG social media governance is able to govern or moderate and remove content from those channels that support this types of features, such as Twitter. And I'm going to demonstrate these features with regards to Twitter right now. So grab your popcorn and please turn your phones into silent mode, and we can begin the demonstration. So I will close out of Firefox here and take a look at SMG. So I have SMG opened up here, which is our social media governance platform. So SMG is a SaaS product, therefore all interactions will be via web browser. So we host this. This is not something that can be installed on premises. Your Retain system, for example, will communicate with our social media governance platform in the cloud to archive the content that it is monitoring. So we're already logged into the admin interface, and this is the home screen. I also have a Twitter tab opened up here to our friend Gustavo, and I also have Retain opened up over here. So we're going to be moving across all of these applications during the next half an hour or so of demonstrations. So the home screen here is your one-stop shop for at-a-glance information. The Analyze Content widget here shows us at a glance how much content from the various channels are being ingested into SMG across different time frames. We also have a number of other widgets available here, such as triggered events that indicate the number of messages that tripped SMG policies if you are capturing a channel that supports moderation or quarantining of posts, such as Facebook or Twitter. We also see how many accounts are connected and also how many and which ones need to be reauthorized, etc. This instance of social media governance is monitoring the social platforms of our fake company, which is Safecoast, and Gustavo is the CFO of that company. So I'm going to click on admin here so we can see just what I'm talking about with regards to the channels that we are monitoring. So as we see here, we're monitoring about a dozen or so sites. So we have Facebook, we have Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, WeChat, WhatsApp, Yammer, YouTube, etc. For this demo, I'm going to focus on the integration we have with regards to Twitter, which is very similar to the other public social media platforms. So let's open up Twitter here. So here we see some of the channel's connection settings. And as with most channels, we use Twitter's API stack to connect and monitor Twitter profiles. So we see that these connections are made here on a 1 minute interval. So I think the default is about 5 minutes. Since I'm going to be doing a live demonstration, I kind of changed that down to 1 so that we don't have to twiddle our thumbs for too long as we wait for things to happen. But of course, the 1 minute is the smallest interval, and then you can make that longer if you wish. So since we securely use Twitter's API to connect to the various Twitter profiles that we wish to monitor, we need to configure those here. So see here, these are some of my employees of Safecoast that I'm monitoring. Twitter will require manual confirmation from each of the profile owners here to authorize SMG's connections and use of Twitter's API. To achieve this, SMG will email each owner a link, and that will allow them to complete the authorization process. We will see something similar happen when I demonstrate our defend functionality in a few minutes. It is also important to note that for security reasons, we need to reauthorize accounts after 6 or so months. So those authorizations that the user will provide automatically expire after 6 or so months, and then will need to be reauthorized. And SMG will provide notifications to admin when this needs to occur, and will automatically send the email to reauthorize the profiles to the profile owners. I'm going to click on policies here. And under policies, we can see the options that allow us to supervise social media accounts and profiles. Supervision of these profiles involves monitoring the communications and matching those against lexicons or lists of keywords. For example, if I scroll down this list here, I'll see a policy for PII, which stands for personally identifiable information. That's kind of far down the list here. So there we see it right here. basically any information that would allow me to identify someone, like their address, their phone number, email address, etc. Now, this is important information to catch for any customer who must adhere to a multitude of privacy-related regulations, very notably GDPR, for instance, plus the host of other ones. Let's actually take the opportunity for a live demonstration of this feature here. Okay, so I'm going to open up Gustavo's Twitter here. So this is, again, Gustavo's Twitter, and I'm going to create a couple of tweets here. So let's tweet something like this. So obviously I put someone's home address here in this tweet here. So my one of my SMG policies that's looking for personally identifiable information or street addresses or so forth should be able to find this. And then let's do another tweet. This one we obviously probably don't want out on Twitter. You will imagine that this is probably not best practice to publicly show your social security number. So it's probably going to take about 1 to 2 minutes for SMG to see this and take action on that. So I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. But I'll return to SMG and I'm just going to click on archive. So the archive here is displaying all captured information plus any special status indications related to those messages. So we see here that obviously I've been practicing this demo a few times over the last couple of days to make sure it's all working. So I see that I have been using those tweets and the system has been catching and quarantining them. We should see the new ones pop up here, which should indicate a time of 11:30 or 23 my time. But obviously everything else here, we're also archiving Teams, Microsoft Teams, etc. So let me just click on one of these messages here. And one very useful feature here is viewing the message thread information. So if I click on this icon over here, we can see that this tweet is, or rather this is a Microsoft Teams conversation between Tracy Kim and Naomi Harrington. So we can see the genesis of this conversation in the thread view, which is very important here. So it's very important to remember that all content captured is viewable inside SMG, as we're looking at now, for about 14 or so days. It is also automatically pushed or pulled to your archive of record, which is Retain or Digital Safe. Let me click on Events. Okay, so we see here that a couple of events have been triggered from our earlier tweets this morning, which is I'm in Montreal, Canada, so it's 11:22 in the morning. So we see the two tweets that I put into Twitter here. These have been flagged by social media governance. Now, depending on the way that my policies are configured, we have different actions that SMG can take. So for example, the tweet that contained my social security number has been flagged as a high risk for obvious reasons. I mean, there's no reason why you would want to ever do that. So this tweet has been automatically quarantined. We see that Q means quarantined. While the tweet that had the home address on, and I'm going to click on this one here, it's been flagged by social media governance, and we see the policy that it tripped here, and it's having a problem with the street address portion of the tweet. It hasn't quarantined this. It's giving us an opportunity to take action on it. So I'm going to quarantine the message by clicking Actions. And there's a few things that I can do here. I'm going to quarantine the message here. Put in my auditable reason for the quarantine, click that. Now SMG is actually reaching out to Twitter and trying to pull the message down, and it will give me a confirmation that this is going to be successful or not. So this message has been quarantined. So, of course, this is a live demonstration, so we're always kind of holding our breaths to make sure that Twitter is cooperating. So when I refresh my profile here, these tweets should go away, and they have been deleted from Twitter. Very cool. So that worked very well. So that demonstrates our supervision capabilities around social media. So that really works very well for the public social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We can reach out and remove information automatically, or allow moderators to moderate that content. So very, very, very cool. So the next thing that I'm going to demonstrate here is our protected profiles optional feature of SMG. So let me go back to SMG, and I'm going to click on profiles here. So the optional profile security features allow a customer to get even more granular in the security policies that they can apply to their various personas. For example, any modification to a profile will produce an SMG notification and give an opportunity to remediate any unauthorized profile changes, which happens in the event of a profile hack. And as we know from Twitter's history, these happen all too often. Actually, my brother's Instagram was hacked actually last month. So unfortunately, we don't have friends and family plans at Micro Focus, so I can't sell him SMG at a price that he can afford. So he wasn't able to protect his Instagram, but he posted something that unfortunately was overly political in nature, and it appeared some Iranian hacker group changed his password, replaced his profile pic with a flag, and you know where I'm going. So that's not what you want, because it's not super easy to contact Twitter. It's not super easy to contact Facebook to make any remediations happen like that. So SMG can protect you because we use their APIs and we're already authorized. So even if someone changes your password, we're already still authorized to remediate. Also, SMG can also notify users if it suspects that they are communicating with what we term quote unquote bad actors online. So what is a bad actor? Those are external profiles that appear to be nefarious, used for trolling purposes or spreading false information, or simply are impersonating other famous personalities like Barack Obama or Elon Musk. And this also happens quite a bit. And I'm sure at least one person on the webinar today has seen tweets from Elon, or quote unquote Elon, about buying Bitcoins and so forth. I know I have. So let me click on protected profiles here. So we see here that Gustavo's Twitter profile is being protected. So let's pretend to be a hacker, and we've logged into Gustavo's profile here, and we want to have a little fun with Gustavo. So let us change his profile picture to something a little bit more appropriate. Okay, so Gustavo's professionally made profile picture has now been sadly replaced with something that doesn't really reflect our chief financial officer. So we're going to give SMG a minute or two to find that, because we connect on a minute-to-minute basis. This is because we don't want to overload Twitter's APIs and get banned by Twitter, which would be bad for business. So we need to do that correctly. So while we wait, I'm actually going to go into Retain real quick here. And Retain is automatically configured to archive everything that's happening in SMG, but it happens on a scheduled basis, and that normally happens twice a day. So we need this to happen a little bit more often for my presentation here. So I'm going to kick off a SMG archival job manually here. So we'll do that. And because we will want to show SMG content in Retain, so we're going to do that. And just give me a quick second here to make sure that's working properly. Okay, that looks good. All right, so hopefully SMG has found our issue here. So let's click on events again. Find my mouse. There it is. Okay, perfect. So we clicked on my events, and now we see profile change detected. So let's click this. So here we see the details of what's happening. So it's right now the status is pending, which means that we either approve, which means nothing happens, or we remediate. So what we want to do here is remediate. We want to put Gustavo's awesome picture back in and remove this one. So all I need to do is remediate. SMG has recorded the original picture. So it's able just to, on the click of a button here, it's connecting to Twitter, and it will remediate our problem. So what this means is if I go back to my Twitter, hopefully we will see Gustavo's picture revert back when I hit refresh here. And there it is. I mean, I'll just take a minute to breathe a sigh of relief, because every time I do a live demonstration, I expect the internet to stop working on me. So it's really nice to see that the internet works properly for at least an hour. So that is a quick demonstration of our protected profile security features of SMG. Just so that you all know that there's a lot of value in our social offering. You just don't get archiving. You can get a lot more there, which these are some features that are even very valuable to marketing departments. So brand protection, and I'm going to demonstrate some of that right now. So it also helps maybe spread the financial cost of the system across different departments, because marketing can use some of these features as well. So let's take a look at brand protection real quick here. So I'm going to go back to SMG, and I'm going to click on defend. So the defend module is most useful to like marketing departments, as I mentioned, and focuses on brand protection. Its purpose is to scan public social media for any suspicious profiles. So profiles that are impersonating your own users or your brand, or profiles that appear to be bots or trolls that are discussing your people's or brands, such as Twitter trolls, etc. So I actually have one such troll, and this is my fictional Twitter profile that I've created called Evil Safe Coast, and here they are in all their evil glory. So I hope you all agree that this profile is looking absolutely evil. So what we're going to want to do, and this is just one profile, and you see here I joined Twitter in October, and no one really likes me, and I don't really like anyone. So 0 followers across the board. Really not a really kind of a suspicious profile, all in all. So let's go back to SMG, and I'm going to create a new scan. So I'm going to create a brand company defense scan, and I'm going to name it not that, but something else. Safe Coast Demo Defend. I'm going to scan Twitter, but you can see we can do Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. Click next. Oh, I guess I do need a profile. I was wondering if that was also. All right. Okay, so I want to add some keywords so that the scan can key off of our brand names, our company names, etc. So we'll key off of Safecoast, which is our company name. You can add more, obviously. We are going to, we want to give it a known asset. So for example, if you have public Twitter accounts, it can analyze the content of your Twitter so it knows what you're talking about, and it can see what other people are talking about, hashtags you use, see who else is using those hashtags, etc. So I will use Gustavo's account here, for instance. So let me just copy paste this account. So you can put your people here or your company's Twitter or Facebook pages, etc. Click next. And now, well, since we use the APIs of Twitter to do all this, we need to actually sign in with Twitter. So we're going to sign in with Gustavo's account. He's already opened on my tab here, so this shouldn't be very difficult to do. It should automatically determine that I'm logged into Twitter. So I need to, this is Twitter's API. So this is an authorization to authorize SMG's Defend application to do all the awesome stuff that we need to do. And hopefully I get the congratulations, and I get authorized, and I click next. And now its scan is ready. So the scan should execute immediately, and we see, and I'm always very shocked at this, how fast it actually returns results considering how big Twitter is, but our guys are very good at what they do. So they're able to find stuff really fast. So what have we found? We found 3 profiles that meet the criteria that are, and it brought back suspicious accounts. Obviously, here's my evil Safecoast user, rather Twitter profile. It found that one. We're very happy that it did that. It actually thinks it's following somebody, so I wonder where it got that from, because I wasn't following any. But it also found Safecoast, Safe Streets, Fraser Coast. I don't know who this is, but they're using, I guess they got onto Twitter before us. So they got a better handle there, and it found this person too. So it has its own algorithms built in to determine what is suspicious, what makes an account suspicious. Maybe they're not verified, they don't have a website, they're following or being followed by a few people, they don't tweet very often, etc. So this person's never tweeted, even though they've created their account 7 years ago. So these are suspicious accounts according to our algorithms here. And very cool, I can also just click this, and I can actually request a takedown from Twitter. So if I click this, goes right to Twitter, and this is their official way to report an account. So we are doing that for that particular evil Safecoast account here, and we can go through the motions with Twitter in this event. So really cool. I'm not actually going to do that because I don't want them to disable. I've already had a few demo Twitter accounts be disabled. Twitter's doing a good job at doing that, which is helpful to the world. So let's just click out of here, and that's a demo, and I'll cancel out of this. So that's a demo of Defend. So the scan, I'm going to delete this scan. The scan happens every day, or it can be set up to happen more often. We have a scan here about the Walt Disney Company that is always enabled and always running. So we see it bring back a bunch of Jeffrey Epstein, okay, a bunch of things that it finds as suspicious. So I don't really normally go through too much of these because we start to see some very strange references to Disney princesses and so on that we don't want to show in the demo, but you can be sure that Twitter is full of such strange things that our social media governance application will be able to show you. All right, so we have about 20 minutes left. Let's take a look at Retain for a moment here. So we're back in our Retain Unified Archive, and this is not a webinar or a presentation to show you all the features and functionality of Retain, but we want to show you the most interesting things, which happens to be searching for information. So we see here that even information that was that's interesting. Someone's talking to me from, I don't even know who this is, but okay, we see that information that was deleted from Twitter. This was my social security number that I posted here, was automatically captured by Retain. You remember that social media governance deleted it automatically, but everything was captured. So that's in Retain. If this was part of a conversation thread, it's not. You would see the conversation thread here. We can also click this link here and it brings us directly to social media governance if this is something that we wanted to take further action on inside of SMG, like the deleted or so on. This is way too interesting. Also good to see you online. Okay, anyway, so we're starting to have fans to our fake company. All right. It's funny because maybe this has something to do with the fact that my evil Safecoast actually started talking about Gustavo yesterday or last month, or yeah. We're starting to get a reputation online, folks. So our social media governance will continue to notify us of what's going on there. If I click on search, for example, you'll see here that this is quick search and we have advanced search interfaces where I can actually open up an advanced search query builder and craft a query based on a wide variety of different criteria. So Retain makes it super easy to find the data that's been archived. You can do a nested query here. There's no limitation to how many criteria you can put in here. The good news is you can save these queries. I'll load one up. Let's load this one. Results always populate extremely fast. Our indexing system is very quick. You'll always have your results in 20 seconds or less. You can open up the query, change a date range, etc. You'll always see how many results you have. In this case, I have 243 results. So yeah, obviously that was fast, but if I go to a quick search here, I can make let's do a query for something that's a little bit more vague here. And we see here search term suggestions here, like Google, really, really easy to use interface. This one returns 60,000 results. And you'll notice that it took probably 2 seconds to do that, generated 2,414 pages of results. So the Solr indexing system in Retain lets us return results really fast. Let's find that social security number real quick. Boom. And it sorts them on by relevance. So by the way, Tracy and Naomi, for example, are also following Gustavo's Twitter. So when he tweets to them, we capture their Twitter feed as well, and it shows up in their feed. So that's why you see the social security number show up a few times here. So what has happened with this search here is that the system is searching for every single one of these characters, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, etc. But it sorts the results in terms of relevance. So it found the full string of characters in these tweets here. So they popped up towards the front of the list. But we noticed there are 8,000 hits here. There's actually 331 pages. So the quick search actually brings back the fire hose. It brings back everything. But of course, if I just wanted to narrow this down here, I can put them in double quotes here, and that should remove boom, we're down to 8. And you just see here, it filtered out, you know, hundreds of results here, and it just did it instantaneously. It didn't even take a second for it to do that. Just an amazingly fast interface. So from here, of course, we can open up these tweets. We can export them to PST or PDF file. We can forward them. We can delete them if deleting is something that we are allowed to do. All these actions, litigation hold, all these actions here are controlled via access control lists. So if I go back into my retain admin console, click on users or group management. If I click on my default group, for instance, and group rights, we see here, this is a list of all the access controls in retain. Obviously, retain is your archive of record. It contains all this information. You need to have that information secured. So we allow you to set up users and groups of users, Active Directory security groups, etc., that have on them very strict security rules to determine what they can and can't do inside the archive, which archives they can or cannot view, etc. So we see the default group, which is the group that every user in retain is a part of, by default, can't do anything except view, forward, and print. Obviously, they can't delete anything. They can't, you know, view the audit log or anything special. But if I open up my auditor group, for instance, that I've created for auditors of the system, they can do more things like export. And they can restore. They can apply confidential tags or remove their own tags, etc. And obviously, everything is audited in the back end. If I open up my audit log here, any user that has access to the audit log will be able to search across the audit log to see who's been in the system doing what. So we see here that S. Cohen Me has been in, and I've been doing a few searches. We see how many hits were returned for these searches. We see which items have been archived. We see which items have been opened by who, etc. So obviously, very important information. This is all stored securely in the database. Okay, so with that does it for my demo. I'm happy that everything seemed to work out, and that the only thing that was interesting is I'm having some unknown person start to tweet with my fictional people. So I'll have to role play my CFO, I guess, and reply to that tweet. Jeremy, I guess I'll turn it back to you, and we will move into questions if there are any.
There are, yes. Thank you very much for that demo, Stephen. That was excellent. And I was actually just going to say, I mean, you might think it's a bit far-fetched that social security numbers are being put onto the likes of Twitter. It's not. And there are many examples of things like bank details being exposed, and very often a number of those kinds of PII pieces of information or sensitive special category information can be surfaced through a conversation. So it's not just like in one tweet. It might be in 2 or 3 over a period of time. So it's really important that we have the policies in place to be able to pick those up, and also, most importantly, be able to remediate them straight away. So that's great. So thanks for that. I have some questions. In fact, the first question is around policy regulations. So can I use this solution to supervise social media communications to ensure compliance with both internal policies and also external regulations?
Okay, so yeah, we answered that one as we were going through the demo. So let me just show once again here. So if I go to my SMG, I'll just spend a little bit more time on this because it's obviously very important. If I open up my admin and I click policies, these are the policies that we can enable. Okay, so if you notice these little bars and it says full service, we chose to make it seem like it's a cell phone that's connecting to you know, like Vodafone or something. We see we have 5 bars, so full service. I guess that's kind of a universal symbol these days. So this means that this policy, and I'll open up PIR contact information, the one that we tripped over. This one, for instance, if I open it up and I click on rules, It's looking for email addresses, it's looking for phone number, it's looking for street addresses. If I click into that, we see the regular expressions used to find a street address. Full service policy means we've created this for you and we actually maintain it for you. So if we need to make a change here, so if street addresses start to be referred to kind of differently in the UK or something like that, we will make a change to reflect that, and then put that in. So you don't need to worry about any of these. If you want to find street addresses, you simply enable that policy on your Twitter feed or any of your other feeds, which I've done here, for instance. It's checkbox, and you can modify it, so you can actually change it if you want to customize it. You see, I've created a Stephen Cohen version of that I created it, so I've made it a little bit more sensitive, so it will fire a little bit more often than it would in normal situations. So for my demo, I want to make sure that one was caught. So I made a little modification. But for example, we have ones for FINRA, which is the US-based regulatory agency or body for financial services. And since my company is not in financial services, I'm not using those, so they're not checked off. But yes, as you see here, we have a full array of different compliancy types of policies that you can enable on your feeds to supervise. And of course, you can even edit those as well. So good question.
Okay. Thank you. Question about retweeting. So if I retweet a protest tweet,
yeah,
I can still see it on my timeline, and also a colleague can see it on their timeline. Is that a Twitter issue or something that we can work with? We can remove those retweets.
So if you retweet something, so if Gustavo would retweet like somebody, I don't know, let's pick somebody, Donald Trump, for instance, and I retweeted Donald Trump here, it shows up on my Twitter feed just like my tweets here. Okay. So, and if that tweet contained content that trips SMG policies, SMG can moderate that and remove it from my profile. If it's subsequently been retweeted, and this happens every minute to 2 minutes, for example, if that tweet has been retweeted again from me to somebody else, it's now on their Twitter profile. We cannot remove it from somebody's Twitter profile that we don't have access to. So it won't be able to be removed from there. But obviously it will be recorded, it will be archived, and it can be supervised if it's on the profile of somebody who we're monitoring with our social media governance profile. So it behaves just like a regular tweet.
Okay, and I have an auditing question here. Is Retain able to report on how many interactions were on a social media post? And this is really for thinking about things like breaches in GDPR. So we can see just what the extent of a breach might be, or the extent of a suspicious posting might be. Can we see the complete audit of that post?
Okay, well, that's a complicated question. I don't really know exactly what constitutes a complete audit of a tweet. We'll see how many people retweeted it, for instance. If it was on Twitter for long enough for that to happen, we record that. If it was taken down by our system, it's deleted, but its status, how many times it was retweeted, liked, etc., is recorded in SMG. Retain doesn't keep that information in the archive, though. In the Retain archive, we just keep the content, the content of the information, and we see who among our audience or among our users that we are archiving have that tweet. So again, if I came back here and I search for that message, we will be able to easily see and Retain that Naomi Harrington had that message because she follows Gustavo. Tracy Kim also had that message because she follows Gustavo, etc. That's why it's showing up. It's been broadcast to these users, so you can see internally easily who's seen this message, etc. And if the tweet's in SMG and it has retweets, we can see some of those statistics there. But as far as the complete audit, I don't know what constitutes really a complete audit of a tweet.
No, that's fair enough. That's good. Interesting question. I already have an archiving solution, but it only archives email, so it's not fit for purpose. What migration support can Micro Focus provide if we were to move to a product like Retain?
Right. So good question. We definitely have migration services available. It depends on what platform. We lovingly call these platforms legacy platforms internally here. But we'll share that term with you all. Depends what platform you have. For example, Retain ships with for free. It ships if I click on my tools thing here. I have migration tools that come with Retain. Whoops, I don't want to show that competitor right there, but for example, we have a PSD importer tool. So if your legacy archive contains the ability to export PSD files, well, we can ingest those easily into Retain. In fact, you can if you're a customer of Retain. You don't even need to call us. We have the tool available for you. It's really easy to use. Or we have specialized migration tools depending on who might be your legacy archive vendor. And we also have partners that actually specialize in archive migration. So if it turns out we can't help, we can put you in contact with companies that do this for a living, because it's actually a business unto itself. Many options.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Stephen. Great answer on that one. That's all of the questions. I think at this stage we can wrap up the webinar. I'd like to thank you, Stephen, for the demonstration. I'd like to thank everybody on the call today for being so attentive, and we'll say goodbye at that, and I wish you the best for the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.